Fire away.
Chris, would you plan on using franchise tag with Michael Jr. if you aren't able to get a deal done in the next?
Here's what I tell you. We've had talks with his agent, who's really good. His agent's been doing it a long time. He's really good at what he does. We'll work hard to get a deal done. It's a tool we have. I'm not going to say we're not going to use it, but I'm not going to say we are. Hopefully we can come to an agreement and find some compromise on a deal.
What do you see happening with the running back market this year, given the available backs that will happen next year?
I mean, this is you pay good players. Like, I don't, you pay good players, and each team chooses to do that. I can't give you what other teams are going to do. I know what we did. We like our guy. We like Jonathan. We ended up working out.
Much did. Obviously, you knew what kind of backs were going to be available for this year. How much did that factor into when you were negotiating with Jonathan, and how much was it, we want to keep our guy because there's an important for that?
No, I think our history's shown. I mean, we want to keep our guy. And plus, he's a talented guy. I mean, this guy's I think you saw it as the year went on. I mean, I kind of expect, look, he's recovering from an injury, then the stressful training camp. But I thought as the season went on, you saw him getting stronger and stronger, and I thought he ended really well against Houston and finished a really great game. So, no, look, always the preference is to take care of your own people first.
When it came to the increase in salary cap, does that thought of taking care of your own in-house free agents come to your mind first?
Well, it always is first, and yes, we did see an increase, and then I think it will be a slower increase going forward. All right, so I don't think we're going to see a $30 million jump every year, so you've got a plan appropriate for that. It definitely gives you more room to work with. Everybody in the league, we're in good shape, but I think it gave everybody a little bit more of a parachute. So I think it goes both ways. We have the big jump this year, then it kind of levels out going forward over the next 4 or 5 years.
Chris, last season, with the season that you had, maybe it was a surprise to you, maybe not, but with where you were, you have the opportunity to maybe take that next step, and it could be a big step. How will that inform how you operate in the offense?
Look, I think it's a good, it's always free agency. Everybody gets excited for that week and stamps a future Super Bowl winner off of that. But what you're seeing is, all right, so you got free agency and you got the A-level players. Well, what happens with them? They get tagged. All right, so now you got the next level one that you end up paying A money. If there's one on the market that we think fits us, and look, it takes two sides here. There's times you'll make a big offer to a player, and you just don't get him. He goes somewhere else. That's part of it. We'll be as aggressive as we need to be, and when we think we need to be.
Chris, you talked in January about how having a quarterback on a rookie deal gives you flexibility. Does it impact the draft too, where you're not looking at those guys, or maybe guys who approach free agency with reinforcing the roster around him?
No, it does, because you want to give him as much as you can to be successful. Which one, I think, you got to make sure he's protected. I think you know my philosophy on that. You have to make sure your quarterback, especially a young quarterback, you got to make sure he's protected. Then you want to put enough good players around him to be successful. Whether that comes through free agency or the draft, I think each year's a little different. And we kind of adjust to however it says. Like, you'll have areas in free agency where there's some depth, and you'll have areas in the draft that are some depth. You try to offset with the areas you don't think there's much depth in free agency.
How does Anthony's skill set adjust maybe the types of players you're looking for in the draft or free agency?
He's explosive. He's explosive within himself. I think we all saw that. Just even with the short span he was playing, he's explosive within himself. And so, look, the more good, reliable players that you can put around him, the better. Number one, protect him. All right, then number two, try to put the best players you can around him.
What is their goals to get him healthy again? Do you feel like were you spotty in his rehab?
Yeah, that's good. No, really happy about where he's at. He started throwing. He's on a rehab program. We're not going to, I lived through the last one, okay? And I learned a lot of lessons living through the last one. So, forgive me for being a little cautious, but, And Anthony, I mean, I know Anthony's made some statements that it's important to be ahead of schedule. Well, we're here to pull the reins to make sure we don't get too far ahead of schedule, and we're staying with whatever the doctors are telling us. So, but he's in good shape. He's throwing. He's got a good throwing program. Got good people working with him. So I'm encouraged about where he's at and where he's going. I don't understand positionless. I don't quite understand that term. I mean, they got to line up somewhere. The ability to kick inside and outside. I mean, I think you've seen that. That's not a new concept in our league. I mean, defensive ends kicking inside to play 3 technique on rush downs is not a new concept. So I don't quite get the positionless part of it. The versatility of players. I do think the one area that you really have seen the game advance, especially at linebacker, where third down and playing the pass is a premium. And, I mean, it's always kind of been my thoughts anyways. And, I mean, look, when we took Darius, that was the main reason why. Third down had nothing to do with first and second down, to do with his ability to play the pass. So I don't quite understand the positionless part of it, but I think you start with the passing game, and then how do they impact the passing game, and then go from there, and then where you play them on passing downs.
You started 2 rookie cornerbacks for the majority of the season. With that knowledge in your head, does it make you want to target a veteran to bring into that room opposed to using the draft to add to that room?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, I think it's got to fall your way. I thought Kenny Moore was a really good vet player, had a good year. Would like to have him back. We'll see how it works out in free agency. But, no, I mean, look, they're going to live through their lumps, and that's part of it. And I thought they both advanced really well. I thought Jones, I mean, look, Jones, all he did was get out there and battle each and every week. And then with Juju, it's about staying healthy. Juju's got to remain healthy.
Jim Nagy mentioned back in Mobile that the transfer portal and NILs probably made day 3 of this year's draft a little tough. Do you view that as more of a challenge, or is like the board strength?
No, I'll tell you this. So I think we went over 2,718 players, where I think before COVID we were at about 1,800 players. So where you're not seeing it shrink. You're seeing a lot more guys with 6 years coming into the draft, a little older player coming into the draft. Look, I always think the more a guy can play in college, the more experience he gets, the better it is. They come in more prepared. It's not the world we live in. You're going to get guys that are young, and you just deal with it either way, and you just got to have a plan to handle it, whatever the case is. So I don't necessarily think it's less players. I mean, we're looking at more players just because of the 5th and 6th years of guys staying in college.
Where's this?
What do you?
Oh, I pay attention to it. We do a lot with our players internally anyways, and ask their feedback. What I would tell you, there's some things I would probably debate with them, but I mean, we pay attention to it. Do I take it 100% to credence? No, but there'll be questions asked, and we'll get feedback, and then things that I'll tell you this: I don't know many players that have been with us that don't want to be back. I mean, that's just been my take on it for the most part. So there's always things you can get better at. There is. There's always things you can get better at. What's that? I knew. I left myself open for that one. No, I'll keep that internal.
Especially when you see a player like Marvin Jr. is doing things the way he's doing it, not working here, maybe not at the pro day. What's your reaction? Is that just an aberration?
I mean, look, would you love every player to come here and compete and do everything? I mean, do everything. Absolutely. It's a chance for them to knock it out, and that way their travel schedule's less. They don't have to worry about the pro days. You'd rather them do everything. But, I mean, I think this is my 24th year in the league, and every year there's always been guys that don't work out. Now, eventually they do it on the back end. Look, there's things, guys are taking stances to do things a little differently. He's a very, very talented player. And, whatever decision a kid makes, then the club has to make that decision if they're comfortable still taking him based on what information you have. You made it.
Well, later question, that wide receiver class, you've heard a lot about it. Just what was your early
Good. It's depth. Yeah, a lot of depth at every level, as a matter of fact. No, it's strong. It's a really strong class. And I think every year, I mean, I don't know if you see them as strong as this, but I compare it almost like when Pitt came out. I mean, that year was really good with, and Jefferson and Ayuk and Pitt. Then the upper part of the draft, I mean, I think CeeDee Lamb was in that draft. I mean, it's comparable,
I think you had the three guys, you had the three receivers that played so much for you last year. You have to add that spot just in case they're not all.
Good point. I'll tell you one of the big, and I think I told y'all after the season, like losing Doolin, I mean, and I told y'all, I did a poor job, really. I mean, because we were kind of manufacturing that. You saw it with the practice squad moves up. Doolin was a huge loss. I mean, just because he gives you so much, not only on special teams, but his ability to play inside and outside. If you have to start him for a stretch, he can do it. So that was a big, and it was kind of a freak. I mean, it was an ACL on grass in training camp, a non-contact. So it's a freak deal. I've got to do a better job of helping Reggie and the offensive staff and make sure and nothing against the players we had in there playing. It was a rotation all year, and that's hard. That makes it really hard on the coaches. I blame myself for that one.
Is there any beauty, Chris, in the idea that what Harrison's doing, everybody could do and not train for track for 3 or 4 months and be?
Not everybody's Marvin Harrison. Not everybody's Marvin Harrison. Yeah.
You could be a full-time football player coming out of college instead of turning into a track guy.
Well, I guess what I would tell you is most of the players, you don't find many of them that when they get to us are out of shape. I think the hardest thing, I'll tell you what, the hardest thing for the rookie, in my opinion, is like they finish their college season, which is going longer. Right, then they get strictly into training, combine, visits, rookie camp, OTAs. I mean, it's almost a cycle that doesn't end until the season ends. So, I mean, preparing for combine, preparing for football, they're really, at the end of the day, they're basically the same thing. I mean, they're getting ready to run.
How do you see Shane?
Last one here.
How do you see Shane grow throughout his first season? I mean, he's super prepared, but obviously, I would imagine that there's something that might have changed from week 1 to 18.
It's a good question. His adaptability, which I think y'all know I've talked a long time about. He's a problem solver, and to watch the problems because as the season goes on, they get more complex. They do. Injuries, how your team's playing, figuring out who you are as a team just because of all the natural change that goes on, and then to watch him grow as a problem solver. Because, there's going to be weeks, and this is across the league, and I don't care if you're the Kansas City Chiefs or anybody else, you're going to have problems, and you have to be able to solve them. To watch him solve the problems this year and grow in that area was really fun. Let's just take the running back position. I mean, he had to mix and match what we were doing with the back end of our roster at wideout. He was having to mix and match how many we dressed. I mean, to watch him understand the mechanics of the roster, the 48-man on game day, watch him help solve the problem. That was pretty cool to watch. And he's just gonna continue to grow and get better at it. And it's always like Shane and I get along really well. But I will tell you, my best relationships come through challenging each. It's not no, there's some challenging going on, and you want that. You why wouldn't you want that? That's a relationship. Relationship's not you both agree. It's that you both challenge.